Hi, I'm Emily, also known as Emily, MA, MLit, BA. Those are my degrees, and that's how I brand myself in social media. But because of that, a lot of people ask me, why do I have two degrees, two master's degrees? It it's a good conversation starter, but it's also something that people often ask me. Um, First of all, I got my bachelor's degree in English in 2016. I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Victoria and I applied to the same university for my master's degree. So it was kind of easy for me to make that transition because it was the same university and it was a lot of the same profs. So I was familiar with that and it honestly didn't take a huge shift in my brain to be able to switch from the bachelor's degree brain to the master's degree brain. It was a good chip on my shoulder to have that, but you know, it was something different and it improved my life pretty well. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about another path. I applied to a Master's of English at the same university and I got in, and I got a scholarship as well, so it was all great. It all went over really well. But after that, I started thinking about the path I really wanted to go on, and then I started doing archival science, sort of looking at book history in school, where I was looking at the history of the book rather than just reading what was in the text. And that's what led me to a master's in museum studies. And museum studies, that master's degree, I applied to several universities this time to be able to do a master's in archival science, collections management, something like that. And through that, I pursued Aberdeen because it was Aberdeen in Scotland because it was a different country. I would be able to study abroad, and so I would also be able to get the standard university experience. So it was a different experience getting that master's degree because, like I said, I was able to experience um, university accommodation life. I was able to be away from home. I was able to, do a research project, do an internship, things like that. So that experience was totally different. When I say I have two master's degrees, I consider them two totally different realms because they all contributed to who I am today, and they all were just different stages in my life. I was a lot more confident in my master's in museum studies just because, like I said, I was away from everything I knew and I just had to sort of build myself again. So that's the reason I did two master's degrees. And now the question everybody wants to know, was it worth it? At first, when I came back from university abroad, I had my second master's degree. I was on top of the world. And then when I started applying for things, that's when I realized, I don't know, I was sort of in a weird way, I was overqualified for some jobs because obviously I had an archival science degree, I had an English literature degree. I at first tried these big jobs like curator, like archivist, things like that. But because I was just out of the gate, I had just transitioned from university to the workforce. I wasn't getting those kind of jobs. So then I sort of had to swallow my pride a bit, and then I started applying for other jobs. Even I applied to grocery store jobs. I applied to work at restaurants, things like that after I came back and I just wanted to get a job. That was my main goal. I just wanted to get a job. And when I was applying for those things, and when I categorized myself as somebody with two degrees, I was too overqualified. I was very specialized in two things: museum studies, archival science, and English literature, and Canadian literature at that. So it was just, I ended up getting a job at a bookstore, which sort of kind of, you know, applied to my English literature degree. But yeah, that was the thing. I was too overqualified. And honestly, having two master's degrees is very different than having a PhD. Because a PhD, you are specialized in that one specific subject, and you've spent many years maybe teaching. You spend a lot of years doing research, and you've done exams. You've done a huge research project, so you are very different. Having a PhD is very different from having two master's degrees. But now, you know, I'm close to, 10 years from when I started my bachelor's degree. Were my two degrees worth it? I would say yes. Right now, I'm a person that has sort of pursued a career in something that most people don't really think of as a career. I work on freedom of information, and I found a job where I could use my collections management specialty and my writing specialty. So I'm really proud of my degrees right now, and I really think it's worth it, but it took a long time for me to think, is it worth it? So yeah, I just wanted to sort of talk about this because I think it's a really interesting question and it's something people need to think about. I spent a lot of time sort of building up my resume, building up my career, and I'm at a good point right now, but there was a time when I wondered, you know, is it worth it? Should I have just done like, a bachelor's of science or like engineering? Because I was good at math as well. So I did wonder that, but at the end of the day, if you have the passion, which I did, I would suggest you do go ahead with the degrees. It wasn't in my original path, but it's something I don't regret at all to this day.